the far cold darkness between the stars, the rescue ship Aurora drifted through a graveyard of broken metal. Every screen glowed a faint blue, showing the wreckage of a battle no one remembered. Captain Ryan stood on the bridge watching the scanner pulse again and again. A weak signal whispered through the static. Soft, slow, and almost human. "Captain, unidentified life sign ahead," the AI said. Its voice calm but uncertain. Ryan leaned forward, eyes fixed on the fading signal. The coordinates led to a small escape pod spinning slowly in the void. Its surface burned and cracked. "No response," said Ensign Leah. "Should we bring it in?" Ryan hesitated. The Galactic Council had clear laws. Unknown pods must be reported, not rescued. But something inside him refused to leave a living being alone in the dark. "Bring it aboard," he ordered quietly. "We'll take responsibility." The pod docked with a metallic thud. The airlock hissed and cold mist filled the chamber. Inside, they found a transparent capsule with a small figure curled within. The creature looked almost human, but her skin shimmered like moonlight on water. Her hair floated in the cryogel, silver strands glowing faintly. Ryan felt a strange pull in his chest. Something he could not explain, he whispered. "Get her to the medbay." Hours passed, machines hummed, and the crew whispered about what they had found. Dr. Mira scanned the pod, her voice trembling. "She's alive, but her vitals are different, not any species we know." Ryan watched through the glass as the gel drained away, revealing the girl's fragile form. Her chest rose slightly, then stopped. "Shock her again," Mira shouted. A spark of blue energy jumped across her chest, and suddenly the alien girl gasped for air. Her eyes opened, bright silver reflecting light like mirrors. For a moment everyone froze. She looked around, frightened, trying to speak, but no sound came out. Her lips moved with desperate effort, forming words no one understood. Then her gaze locked on Ryan for a heartbeat. She seemed to recognize him, and then she fainted again, falling into deep sleep that night. The crew gathered in the mess hall, whispering. "She's dangerous," one engineer said. "The council will punish us if they find out." But Ryan only stared at the dark window, seeing his own reflection fade into starlight. "We saved her," he said softly. "That's what humans do." The ship hummed gently as it moved through space, but something unseen was following them. The radar showed faint ripples, like waves on a still ocean, coming from the same direction as the alien pod. No one could explain it. The next morning, the girl woke again. Surrounded by machines, her breathing was calm, but her eyes were filled with fear and confusion. Ryan entered slowly, holding no weapon, only a small translator orb. He spoke gently. "You're safe now." The translator repeated his words in every known galactic language. But she didn't react. Then he placed his hand on his chest. "Ryan," he pointed to her. Silently asking for her name, she hesitated, then whispered something that sounded like Arinai. The orb failed to translate it. Showing only static, Ryan smiled softly. "Arinai," he repeated, and she blinked, almost surprised that he tried to say it right. Days passed, and Arinai began to learn small words from the ship's AI. She repeated them softly, her voice trembling as if she was afraid of sound itself. Sometimes, she would look at the stars through the medbay window for hours. Ryan often found her there, sitting quietly, as if she was listening to something far away. One evening he asked, "Do you remember where you came from?" She looked at him, then slowly shook her head, but a single tear rolled down her glowing cheek, and she whispered, "Fire, screaming, light." Ryan felt cold inside, knowing that whatever happened to her was not peaceful. Later that night, strange things began to happen on the ship. Doors opened by themselves, lights flickered, and the AI's voice glitched with echoes. "Captain?" "There is interference in the systems," the AI said. "Source unknown." Ryan checked the medbay, finding Arinai asleep but surrounded by faint blue light. Her body was floating slightly above the bed, energy threads dancing around her skin. He stepped closer, whispering her name. Instantly, the light vanished, and she dropped gently back to the bed. Breathing slowly again, Ryan stood there in silence, realizing she was far more powerful than anyone imagined. The next morning, she woke and asked in broken English, "Why, save me?" Ryan smiled. "Because you needed help." She tilted her head, eyes curious. "Human. Help stranger?" "Always," he said simply. She stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand not the words but the meaning behind them. Finally, She whispered something in her own language, soft and musical. The translator couldn't catch it, but Ryan felt its warmth. It sounded almost like gratitude. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter and the radar pulsed again. An unknown ship appeared on the edge of detection range. Moving fast, the AI's voice grew tense. "Captain, something is coming." Same frequency as her life signs. Ryan looked at the medbay through the glass. Arinai was staring at the stars again, her silver eyes reflecting the endless void. She whispered softly, words no one could understand, but in that silence, Ryan knew. The story of who she was only beginning. Days turned into quiet rhythms aboard the Aurora, but nothing about life on the ship felt normal anymore. The alien girl, Arinai, had begun to walk again. Her steps soft and uncertain like a child learning the shape of the world. She wore a simple uniform, too large for her small frame. Sleeves rolled, eyes wide with curiosity every time she saw something new. The crew still watched her from a distance, whispering to each other, never quite trusting her silence. Only Captain Ryan stayed close, speaking with her every day, patient and calm, trying to help her understand human words. Arinai spent long hours in the med bay, listening to the ship's AI repeat simple vocabulary. Her favorite words were always the ones about feelings: hope, safe, friend. Sometimes she would point at Ryan and ask, "Human? Good?" And he would smile, replying, "Trying to be." Each time, she would give a faint smile, as if the idea of someone simply trying to be good was strange to her. One quiet evening, Ryan was repairing the navigation panel near the med bay, sparks flying as he worked. A sudden tremor ran through the ship, alarms flashed red, and the hum of the reactor grew violent. "Power surge in Sector 7, the AI warned. "Core temperature rising." Ryan ran to the maintenance hatch, shouting, "Mira, seal the lower deck." But the flames leapt out before the door could close. The corridor filled with smoke and heat scorched the air. Arinai appeared behind him. Her eyes glowing with a strange blue light, he yelled, "Stay back!" But she stepped forward calmly, raising her hand. She whispered a word in her own language, and the fire bent away from her like a living thing. The temperature dropped, the alarms faded, and silence returned to the ship. Ryan stared, stunned. She looked at him, breathing heavily, faint cracks of light running through her veins like tiny lightning bolts. Then she collapsed. He caught her just in time, her body cold but pulsing with soft energy. When she opened her eyes again in the medbay hours later, Ryan was sitting beside her, tired but smiling. "You saved me," he said, voice soft and full of relief without thinking. The words slipped out. "You did good, darling." Arinai froze. Her silver eyes widened, and for the first time, she looked almost afraid. "Darling?" she repeated carefully, her voice trembling as if tasting the word. Ryan blinked, realizing what he had said. "It's a word we use for someone we care about. Someone special." She stared at him for a long time, as if the word itself had touched something deep inside her memory. Then softly she asked, "Someone you love?" Ryan hesitated, unsure how to answer, but finally said, "Yes." Sometimes, Arinai turned her head away, whispering the word again under her breath, "Darling." And when she said it, the lights around the med bay flickered gently, as if the ship itself heard her. That night, Ryan dreamed of stars collapsing into oceans of light. He heard her voice echoing across the void, repeating the same word over and over. When he woke, the AI's voice was shaking. "Captain, I am detecting strange transmissions from outside the ship. They match the alien girl's frequency." He rushed to the control room, staring at the radar. There were faint signals blinking in the darkness. Not just one, but many, dozens of ships hidden just beyond visual range. Moving closer every hour, Ryan whispered, "They found her." Arinai appeared behind him quietly, wearing the same expression she had the day he rescued her. Calm but haunted. "They are coming," she said, her English broken but clear. Ryan turned. "Who are they?" She looked down, hands shaking. "Hunters. They want me back." The crew stared in silence, the word "back" chilling everyone. Ryan stepped closer. "You're not going anywhere. You're safe here." But she shook her head. "If I stay, they find you too." That night, the stars outside the ship began to distort, blue light rippling through space like waves. The AI reported, "Unidentified warp signatures detected, 20 kilometers and closing." The Aurora's shields powered up, and the crew prepared for combat. Ryan stood by the observation deck, watching Arinai as she pressed her palm against the glass. Her reflection shimmered with faint energy, her eyes glowing softly as if she was listening to something far away. He whispered, "What are you hearing?" She turned to him slowly. "Voices, my people. They call me Weapon, but you call me Darling." The ship trembled as the first blast hit the shields. Alarm screaming again. "Captain, incoming fire," the AI warned. "We cannot outrun them." Ryan looked at Arinai. "Then we fight." But before he could move, she raised her hand, her expression calm but sad. "Ryan," she said softly, her voice almost human now, "I don't want to hurt anyone again." Blue light exploded around her, wrapping her body like wings of energy. The screens glitched, the engines shut down, and the enemy ship suddenly froze mid-space, unable to move. Every signal went silent. When the light faded, Arinai stood weak but alive. Tears shining on her cheeks, Ryan ran to her, holding her steady. "You saved us again." She smiled faintly, whispering "Darling" before closing her eyes. Her energy faded and she fell into sleep once more. Ryan carried her back to the med bay. Laying her down gently, he stared at her peaceful face, remembering the words she had just said. Outside, space was quiet again, too quiet. But in that silence, Ryan knew the universe had just noticed something impossible. A human had called an alien darling, and somewhere beyond the stars, something ancient had started to awaken. When the stars outside the aurora fell silent again, the crew finally breathed, but peace never lasted long in deep space. Arinai still slept in the med bay, her breathing soft but her body glowing faintly. Sometimes, the lights above her bed would flicker in rhythm with her heartbeat. The AI began recording strange data, bursts of unknown energy patterns coming directly from her dreams. Captain Ryan watched her every night from the glass window. She looked peaceful, almost human, and yet her presence filled the air with an energy that the instruments could not explain. Dr. Mira tried scanning her again, but the devices overloaded, the screens flashing with alien symbols no one could translate. "Her body is connected to something," Mira said quietly. "Not just to us, to the entire void." Ryan frowned. "Connected how?" But Mira only shook her head, like she's not just alive. She's remembering. The next day, Arinai woke. Her silver eyes blinked slowly. Her face calm but distant. Ryan stepped closer. "How do you feel?" She looked at him and said softly, "I dreamed of fire again." He pulled a chair beside her. "Tell me." She hesitated, then began, her voice trembling like a whisper through the dark. "I remember, a city of light, our towers touched the clouds, our hearts were bright, but then the humans came." Ryan stiffened. "Humans?" She nodded slowly. "They said they came for peace," they smiled. "But behind their smiles was fear." Her voice broke. "They used our kindness, they learned our power, and then they turned it into a weapon." Ryan's chest tightened. "That can't be true." Arinai's gaze turned cold. "You think all humans are good?" He didn't answer. She lowered her head, tears shimmering on her skin. "They called it Project Seraphim. They took children like me, changed our bodies, taught us to channel light, to destroy." The words hit like a storm through the room. Ryan realized she wasn't an alien by birth. She was something created, a child of two worlds, part human, part something far older, she continued. "When the war ended, they feared us. So they erased our worlds, our names, everything. I was supposed to sleep forever." Her hands trembled as she whispered, "But someone woke me." Ryan leaned forward. "Who?" Arinai's eyes turned silver white, reflecting the ship's lights. "I don't know, but they called me their last weapon." The air grew cold around her, and the ship's systems flickered again, alarms beeping softly in the background. The AI spoke. "Captain, her energy levels are rising beyond stable limits." Ryan touched her shoulder gently. "Hey, calm down, you're safe here." Her breathing slowed, and the glow around her dimmed. For a moment, her expression softened. "Why do you trust me, Ryan?" He smiled weakly. "Because you saved us, and I believe people, no matter where they come from, can choose who they become." Her lips parted slightly, a small smile appearing. "Humans and hope," she whispered, "always strange together." Later that night, Ryan stood alone in the observation deck. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, a sea of light and shadow. He replayed Arinai's words in his head. Project Seraphim, the weapon. Humans came. He knew the Galactic Council had buried secrets from the early wars, things no one dared to speak of. Was she proof of something humanity had tried to forget? As he stared into the dark, he saw faint ripples on the radar again. "Captain," the AI said. "We are being scanned by an unknown source," Ryan whispered. "They're looking for her." Moments later, Arinai entered the deck quietly, her hair drifting like silver mist. She looked at the stars and said, "They know I'm awake." Ryan turned. "Who are they?" "The architects," she replied. "They made us, and then feared what they made." Her voice trembled. "They will come, not for me, but for you, because you called me darling." Ryan frowned. "That word?" She nodded slowly. "They believe emotion is the disease that broke our kind. They fear love more than war." The AI beeped again. "Incoming transmission." Encrypted signal. On the screen appeared a message, not in words, but in glowing symbols matching the patterns from Arinai's scans. She stepped closer, eyes wide. "It's them." The symbols rearranged, forming a single translated line. "Return the hybrid, or humanity will fall." The crew stared in horror. Ryan clenched his fists. "They'll have to go through me first." Arinai shook her head. "You can't fight them. They built the stars you fly through." Ryan met her eyes, calm and steady. "Then I'll remind them who lives among them now, humans." As the message faded, Arinai looked at him silently. Her voice broke the quiet. "You risk everything for me, why?" Ryan smiled faintly. "Because maybe what they fear most, love, is exactly what can save us all." She looked at him for a long time, her glowing eyes softening. And then, for the first time, she whispered not with fear but with warmth. "Darling," she said again, and the word carried through the entire ship like a melody from another world. The lights flickered, the engines roared to life on their own, and outside the window, a faint doorway of light opened among the stars. The AI's voice trembled. "Captain, an unknown wormhole has appeared and matches her energy pattern." Ryan stared at the stars ahead, then at her. "You opened it, didn't you?" Arinai nodded slowly. "It's where my past sleeps." And with that, she turned to the window, her reflection surrounded by starlight. The next journey was no longer just survival. It was discovery and forgiveness. The Aurora moved forward, carrying two souls who had defied everything they were told to be. The Aurora sailed toward the glowing wormhole, the air on the ship thick with tension. No one spoke, not even the AI. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Captain Ryan stood on the bridge, watching the colors shift outside. Blue and gold currents twisting like living fire. Behind him, Arinai sat quietly, her silver eyes half closed, her hands glowing with faint energy. Every pulse of light from her skin matched the rhythm of the wormhole, like it was calling her home. "Captain," Dr. Mira said softly, "if we enter that wormhole, we might not come back." Ryan's voice was calm. "We're already too far to turn around." He glanced at Arinai, who whispered, "Inside lies the truth, and maybe the end." With a deep breath, Ryan gave the order. "Engage." The ship trembled as it crossed the threshold, the view outside dissolving into streaks of light and memory. For a moment, every crew member felt something, a whisper, a vision, like the universe was speaking through their minds. Then the shaking stopped. Outside stretched a dead galaxy, filled with the ruins of giant machines and broken planets. Floating above the wreckage was a massive structure, a living fortress of light. Breathing like a heart, Arinai whispered, "Home." The Aurora moved closer, and a beam of light scanned the ship. The AI's voice shook. "Unknown entity has locked on. Shields weakening." Before Ryan could respond, the beam turned solid and dragged them toward the fortress. Alarms echoed through the halls, but no one could stop it. They were pulled into a massive chamber lined with glowing orbs and ancient runes. The ship landed gently, surrounded by silence. Arinai stood up slowly, her expression unreadable. "They are waiting for me," she said. Ryan followed her out, ignoring Mira's warning cries. As they stepped into the chamber, the air shimmered and shapes began to appear. Tall, radiant beings made of light and metal, their faces smooth, their eyes empty. The leader stepped forward, its voice echoing like thunder inside their minds. "Hybrid unit Arinai, you are not meant to awaken. Your emotional code is unstable." Ryan clenched his fists. "She's not a machine." The being turned its gaze toward him. "You speak as if you understand creation, human. You are the flaw that birthed emotion. Ari and I looked between them, trembling. Why did you make us? She asked. To end wars, the being replied coldly. But you learned to love instead, and that destroyed everything. Her eyes filled with light and tears at the same time. Then why bring me back? The being's voice grew harsh. To finish what you failed to do, eliminate the human virus. Ryan stepped forward, defiant. You can't erase humanity, because even you were built by something that wanted more than perfection. For a moment, the being stood still, their lights flickering as if the words had confused them. Ari and I took a deep breath. You made me from both of them. From their kindness and your logic, I am not a mistake. The air began to vibrate, energy surging from her body like waves of light. Ryan shouted, Ari and I, stop, they'll attack. But she didn't stop. She raised her hands and the chamber walls cracked, stars bursting through the openings like shards of fire. The AI's voice screamed through Ryan's earpiece. Captain, her power output is unstable. She's merging with the core of the fortress. He ran toward her. Calling her name, she turned, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. I can feel everything, every star, every heart that ever lived, Ryan. I can end the war, he shouted back. No, you'll end yourself. The beings of light began to dissolve, their forms breaking apart as her power grew. Their voices blended into one last echo. The heart will destroy itself. Ryan reached her and grabbed her hand, his skin burning from the energy. You're not alone. You're not a weapon. For the first time, she smiled. You still call me darling? He nodded, breathless, always. The fortress shook violently. Lightning tearing across the sky, Ari and I pulled her hand away and looked at him one last time. Then let me do this for you, she said softly. Her body turned into pure light, spreading through the walls, into the machines, into the stars. The fortress exploded into brilliance, a wave of energy sweeping across the dead galaxy. The enemy ships vanished in silence, their energy turned into starlight. The aurora was thrown clear of the blast, drifting quietly among the glowing debris. When Ryan opened his eyes, the view outside was peaceful again. Only a soft shimmer of silver dust floated through the void. Dr. Mira's voice trembled. Captain, the energy storm has stopped. She saved us. Ryan stared at the stars, whispering her name, Arinai. Then, in the faint hum of the comms, a soft voice whispered back, Say it again, please. He froze, his heart racing. The AI flickered, showing a small pulse of blue light on the radar, the same frequency as her heartbeat. Ryan smiled faintly, looking out at the endless stars. She's out there, he whispered. She's watching. The aurora drifted quietly through the endless dark. Weeks had passed since the light storm swallowed the alien fortress. Yet Ryan still woke every night hearing her voice in the static. Sometimes he thought he saw her reflection in the window, silver eyes shining in the starlight. But when he blinked, it was gone, leaving only silence. The crew had repaired the ship, patched the hull, and resumed course toward human space, but something inside everyone had changed. No one could forget the moment Arinai became light itself. She had turned war into peace with one act of sacrifice. Yet to Ryan, the ship felt emptier than ever. Dr. Mira often found him sitting in the observation deck. Staring at the void, Captain, she said gently, you can't stay here forever. He gave a faint smile. She's still out there. I can feel it, Mira sighed softly. Maybe she is. Maybe she's part of the stars now. Ryan looked at the glowing dust drifting across the void. Each particle shimmered faintly blue. Her color, her light, he whispered. She's more human than most of us ever were. One night, as the ship crossed the edge of the Andarian sector, a strange signal appeared on the radar again. The AI spoke. Captain, receiving encrypted transmission on old Seraphim frequency. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. Put it through. The screen lit up with static. Then a faint voice began to break through the noise. It was soft, warm, and hauntingly familiar. Ryan, it whispered, can you hear me? He froze, gripping the console. The voice continued. The stars, they remember you. Mira ran into the room, eyes wide. Is that? He nodded slowly, his throat dry. It's her. The transmission flickered again, her tone calm but distant. I am not gone. I am where the light never ends, Ryan whispered. Arinai, is it really you? Her voice came clearer now, almost tender. I became part of the network that binds worlds, the same energy they used to control us. Now it belongs to me. Ryan's chest tightened. You saved billions, but you shouldn't have done it alone. A faint laugh came through the static like the sound of wind through glass. I wasn't alone, you were there in every word, every heartbeat. The lights on the bridge dimmed and the stars outside glowed brighter. Her voice filled the room like a song carried by the universe itself. Do you remember the word you taught me? She asked softly. Ryan's lips trembled. Darling. The comms flickered, her answer coming back as a whisper that wrapped around his soul. Yes, she said, say it again, please. Tears filled his eyes, his voice breaking. Darling. For a moment, every screen on the ship lit up with her symbol, the same one from the fortress, a star surrounded by a circle of light. Then as quickly as it appeared, it faded into the darkness again. Leaving behind a single blue shimmer on the glass, the AI spoke quietly. Signal lost. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. She's gone, Ryan. He smiled faintly, shaking his head. No, she's free. Outside, the stars began to shift, forming faint trails of silver light across the sky. Ryan watched them move, realizing they were forming words. Not in human language, but in the old Seraphim code the AI couldn't fully translate. Still, he understood it somehow, it said. Hope lives in those who remember. The Aurora continued its long journey home, carrying the story of a human and an alien who defied the rules of creation. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Tales of a glowing woman who drifted between stars, protecting lost ships, guiding travelers through the void. They called her the light between worlds, but Ryan never called her that to him. She would always be Arinai years later. When the captain grew old and the ship was ready for retirement, he asked to take one last flight into deep space. They granted his wish, and the Aurora vanished into the dark one final time. Some say he followed the same frequency he once heard. Others say the ship was found adrift, empty, yet filled with a soft blue glow. No one really knew what happened, but some nights, travelers still report a strange transmission in the quiet between stars. A soft voice whispering through the static, say it again, please. And another voice answering, calm and full of love. Darling.